Hi, my name is Dr. Emma. I'm a dermatology registrar and I'm the co-founder of the House of Medics. And today I'm going to talk about finding your purpose within medicine. And I know that probably sounds a bit abstract, a bit odd, but what I mean is about really finding your space within the medical field. I know at this time, just last week, the jobs for the newly starting doctors in August have just been released. So I know a lot of you are now starting to prepare with regards to where you're going to do your F1 and F2 training. It's exciting. It's like all the years of hard work are finally going to be tested because you're actually going to be on the wards working. And to be honest, even if you don't fit in that category, if you're not currently a final year medical student, maybe you're a medical student that's earlier on in your training, or even if you're not even a medical student, if you're a nurse or any other sort of healthcare professional, I think this will still apply to you. So when I first graduated from uni, you sort of think like, yeah, I'm ready. I'm going to start saving lives. Like, it's time. I've been reading for so many years. Like, I'm just going to get on the ward and just save lives. It's going to be so good. And then you realize that actually you do a lot of paperwork. You spend a lot of the day sitting in front of a computer or writing in notes if your hospital still uses paper notes. And I remember feeling a bit like, well, I feel like a secretary. I don't feel like a doctor. Doesn't look like Holby City, doesn't look like ER or Grey's Anatomy. Like, what's going on? This isn't what I signed up for. Apart from the times when you're on call. So I started F1 on nights. So for those of you who don't know, when you're the doctor working nights, usually you're the only doctor for hundreds of patients and you're being called left, right and center from nurses from this ward, nurses from that ward. People are getting sick in the night, you don't know what to do. I worked in a very busy district general hospital and you know, it's not like I had someone holding my hand all the way through, and I was terrified. Like, every time I got bleeped, I thought, oh my God, like, this was not in the lectures, I'm not sure what to do. So it was like two extremes. It was either that you were doing a lot of admin or what seemed like secretarial tasks, or you felt completely out of your depth. And I've come on today to say, don't worry, we've all been through it, and it gets better. And I think when I talk about finding your purpose in medicine, it's so important because when you first start and you feel these ways, you either feel, really bored and feeling like you're not exercising what you've learned, or you feel like you're out of your depth. It can be really discouraging and you feel like, okay, well, what is this all about? I've been dreaming about being a doctor for how many years? I've given at least 5, maybe 6 years of my life to learn how to do this thing. And I really don't feel like this is what I signed up for. And the whole point about finding your purpose is to actually my message to you is just to enjoy that moment, like enjoy the bits where you are. So obviously as the F1, you're the most junior member of the medical team. So you will be asked to do a lot more of the administrative tasks, writing discharge summaries, doing drug charts, stuff like that. And that doesn't belittle or disregard the hard work that you put in. It just means that for that time, you're the most junior member of the team, and that is your role within the team. And even though it seems less glamorous, it's so important. I feel like the problem that a lot of us have, not just medics, people in general, is we want to do the jobs that look glamorous. We want to have the limelight. We want to feel like we're the ones making the difference. But those administrative tasks are so important. So you are making a big difference, even though it doesn't feel like it. So let's say if you don't write that discharge summary and do that TTO, when the patient goes home, how is the GP going to know what happened while they're in hospital? How is their care ongoing going to be able to, how is the GP going to be able to care for them in the months ahead? How are they going to get their medications? So I know sometimes it really feels like you're just sitting in front of a computer typing stuff. No one really cares, but your role in that team is so key. And then as the years go on, you become an F2, you start to feel a bit more independent. When you're being called for emergencies, you feel a bit more like, yeah, I know how to handle this. Things get better. You start to realize your purpose a bit more, and you realize why you have to do those things in F1, because it all feeds into the experiences that will make you a good F2. And then of course after F2 you decide what you want to do, whether you go into core medical training, core surgical training, GP or whatever. Those experiences from F1 and F2 help to mold your choices. And from there, as you start to make decisions within the medical field, that's where your career really starts to mold itself, starts to take shape. Your career really starts to take a certain trajectory. So finding your purpose within medicine is so key. So really the message that I'm trying to push is don't get discouraged when you're doing stuff and it just seems long, you're like, how many discharge letters can one person write? Like, am I a letter writer? Am I a typist? Don't get discouraged. It all builds up into, the career that you eventually want to have. So even if I talk a bit about my career, when I did F1 and F2, I realized that I really enjoyed teaching. And I did actually teach while I was a medical student as well. So from third year of medical school, I started to teach second year medical students. And then in fourth year, I'll teach third years. Fifth year, I'll teach fourth, etc. So when I finished my F2 training, I took a year out, what a lot of people call an F3, to become a teaching fellow. And I actually went back to Imperial, which is where I studied, to go and teach medical students. And I loved it so much. That's actually when a lot of my mentoring started, because I have these students that I'm teaching and they look up to me because I've overcome a lot of the hurdles that they have, finals, foundation training, etc. And that's really when I started to connect with younger medics a lot more, not necessarily younger, but more junior medics a lot more. And I'd find like I could see how stressed they are. So even in medical school, you feel like this thing is never ending, especially when you get to third year and a lot of your friends who are non-medics graduate and then you've still got another 2 or 3 years to go. It can feel so daunting, but I'd always be like, listen, you will find your purpose within medicine. You will find that space that is carved out for you, that is created for you, that was ordained for you to do. And I'll also say, obviously, I've spoken a lot about being a doctor because that's my primary experience, but I know that this definitely applies to other specialties as well. So, for example, let's say it's your first day as a nurse or as a midwife or something like that. You will be asked to do maybe the more menial, and there's no task in medicine that is menial, but if I can be permitted to use that word, you will be asked to do some of the more menial tasks. Maybe you're helping to feed patients, wash patients, and then eventually you'll get to the more exciting things, the things that you feel like are more in line with nursing, because that's how these things work. All healthcare specialties have an apprenticeship form and you learn a lot on the job. So there's no way that what you studied in university is going to completely prepare you to actually go out on the ward. So I just want to encourage, even if you're a pharmacist, you're a physiotherapist, you're a midwife, all those times where you feel like, I'm not doing what I signed up for. I know midwives who are like, I want to deliver babies. But there's going to be other stuff you have to do as well. You're going to have to learn how to document, even things like making sure the machines and all the ward and everything is intact and in place. All that stuff contributes to the bigger picture of supporting the team and getting the best outcomes for your patients. So every little task that you are given should not be taken for granted. Don't feel maybe offended or upset that you seem to be doing all the junior tasks, because when you're the junior, that's how it works. And as time goes on, your role within the team becomes more and more evident. The consultants or the experienced nurses, the sisters, the experienced pharmacists, the band 8s in whatever field you're in, they didn't get there overnight. They also did those things. And I think sometimes we need to remind ourselves when we're first starting off that it takes time. That even though I've been at university for however many years, it didn't necessarily prepare me to be the expert. The expertise comes from doing the same thing and from practicing and from growing and from learning actually, practically on the wards while I'm working. So, the healthcare specialties are a bit different maybe from other industries in that we do have so much more learning to do even after we graduate. So whatever specialty or whatever discipline you're in, be rest assured that things get more interesting, more exciting, and more, if I can say, more subjectively purposeful as you go on. So just be encouraged and continue in whatever field that you find yourself in, whatever field your heart led you to, you will find your purpose there. And once you find that, that area, that space, things get better. And don't despise the small things. Don't despise, when a nurse asks you to prescribe paracetamol for the 10,000th time. That means a lot to that patient. How are they going to get their pain under control? So, the little things that you do with the medicine, I just really want to encourage you to hold on to it because it makes a big difference. Finding your purpose with the medicine is often about the small things. It's not about, big, grand things that, like in the TVs, in the films and in the TV shows where it's like you you saved someone who had a cardiac arrest. It's very rare that you feel like you personally saved a life because you work as a team. I can't think of a time when I would say I personally am responsible for a person staying alive. Like, no, we work as a team. And let's say in a cardiac arrest, even if it's just my job to take the time to tell the team, when the 2 minutes are up to recheck the heart rate, that's good for me too. That's me playing my role, and that's me finding my purpose within medicine. So for all of you who are just about to go on the wards and start as doctors this August, you're going to do amazing. Stay in touch with the House of Medics. If you need anything, drop us a DM or a message via our website, let us know. And I'll definitely be doing some more videos of preparing you for your first weeks as an F1 doctor. Take care.